Welcome to a deep dive, really, into inside sales agent performance. We're going to be looking at Dr. Richard Condé's research.
Right.
He analyzed over 800 pages, can you believe it, of industry blog posts.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is a lot of opinions, experiences, all that. And, he found some pretty big gaps between what inside sales agents really need to be great at their job and what they're actually getting, you know?
It's a gold mine of information, I'm sure.
Right, it is, yeah. So we're going to break down his key findings into three main areas. We're going to look at training, technology, and then the super interesting, always changing world of social selling. So first up, training. One thing that really stuck out in the blogs was just this constant need for better, more in-depth training programs.
Yeah. It does seem like a lot of agents just don't feel prepared, especially when it comes to that, the classic 7-step selling process.
Yeah, it's a classic for a reason, right?
Yeah.
But oh boy, it's not easy to master. And the blogs really got specific about where agents felt they were struggling.
Oh, okay.
They talked about the challenges of, prospecting, like that hurdle of getting past gatekeepers, and then just staying motivated when you're facing, rejection left and right.
It's tough. Got to be tough. It's interesting, though. A lot of the blogs had this kind of a new way of looking at it. Instead of seeing gatekeepers as the enemy, they encouraged agents to try and build real relationships with them.
Oh, I like that. Turn it around completely.
Right. Make them your ally.
Yeah.
The thinking is if you can gain their trust, their respect, they might actually, help you out, help you get in the door.
I think that's such a good takeaway for our listener, right? Don't dismiss those relationships no matter who it is, at any level.
Exactly.
The blogs also talked about how effective side-by-side coaching is, especially for consultative selling.
Yeah, there was this one blog post that I remember told this really interesting story. It was about this experienced salesperson, and they used a side-by-side coaching session to actually show someone how to deal with a really tricky objection.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't just about giving them the right answer. It was about demonstrating the whole active listening thing, empathy, and, building that rapport. And those are all key parts of consultative selling.
Yeah, it's like learning by watching, right?
Yeah.
By seeing it in action.
Yeah.
So much more powerful.
Totally.
It makes sense that kind of coaching is so valuable for consultative selling.
Yeah, for sure. Because consultative selling, it really requires you to understand, deeply understand the customer's needs and their, the challenges they're facing.
Yeah.
It's less about pushing a product and more about positioning yourself as someone they can trust, an advisor, someone who can actually help them reach their goals.
It's a much more, collaborative, nuanced approach, So for our listeners out there really deep in the inside sales world, this emphasizes, moving past just those transactional sales and really embracing this more consultative mindset. Okay, so we've looked at training gaps. Now let's get into how technology can actually help with those gaps and, make everyone more productive. The blogs were all excited about, a bunch of cool new tools.
There was a lot of talk about call monitoring, lead scoring, and all these advanced telephony features.
Yeah. I am fascinated by how lead scoring can really help you prioritize your work. It just seems like such a game changer for agents who are just drowning in leads, trying to figure out where to put their energy. So break it down for me. How does lead scoring actually work? How does it lead to, better sales?
Okay, so lead scoring uses these algorithms, and they look at all these different data points, about each lead. So that could be anything from their industry, the size of their company, even how they behave on your website.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And based on all that, the algorithm gives each lead a score, right? And that score tells you how likely they are to become a customer. So then agents can, focus on the leads with the highest scores, the ones that are most likely to be ready to buy.
So it's about working smarter, not harder, as they say.
Exactly.
You're not wasting time with people who are probably not going to buy anything. You're zeroing in on the ones who are already showing they're interested.
Right. It streamlines everything, makes your outreach so much more targeted.
Right. Having a crystal ball.
Predicting who's going to close.
And speaking of streamlining, the blogs also talked about the benefits of those advanced telephony features. I'm thinking of things like, automatic call distribution and voicemail to email integration. How do those actually help with the sales process?
Okay, so those tools are all about getting rid of those little annoying things that can slow down the whole sales process,
So automatic call distribution, That makes sure that calls are going to the right agent, the one who can best handle it.
Right.
And then voicemail to email that lets agents get to their messages and reply to them quickly, even when they're like out and about. It's all about being efficient and not wasting any time.
Yeah, it's about giving your agents the tools so they can, really be quick and responsive. And actually, a lot of the blogs were saying we need like better tools for face-to-face stuff.
Oh, interesting.
Even though inside sales is, mostly remote.
Yeah.
Things like, really good video conferencing and those interactive presentation platforms, they were like at the top of their wish list.
Makes sense. Even if inside sales is mostly remote, you still need that like personal connection, right?
Yeah.
It's like bringing the best parts of like in-person selling to the online world.
Exactly. And this whole idea of like wanting more engaging online interactions, it really connects to how important social selling is becoming. And that was another big thing that came up in Dr. Conde's research. Yeah, definitely. There was like a huge jump in how much the blogs were talking about social selling. I think it was a 33% increase, something like that. It's clearly getting bigger and bigger. And agents seem really interested in platforms like, the usual suspects, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. So, you're really in tune with the inside sales world. How do you see those platforms fitting into the whole sales picture?
Well, each one has its own strengths, right? It's like they each offer a different way to connect with potential customers. So LinkedIn, it's like the king of professional networking. It's perfect for, establishing yourself as an expert, connecting with those decision makers.
Right.
When you share, good insights and you're part of those industry discussions, you can really build your credibility. It makes you stand out.
So it's not enough to just like have a profile. You have to actually be active, build a reputation.
Right. It's all about showing what you know and becoming that go-to person in your field.
Okay. What about Facebook? Where does that fit in with social selling?
Facebook is great for like building relationships, engaging with prospects on a more, I guess, personal level. Joining those relevant groups, sharing interesting content, being part of conversations, it can help you gain trust and build brand awareness. It's like building a community around your brand and then, nurturing those leads over time.
It sounds like a really good way to stay top of mind and build those long-term relationships, which, let's be honest, they're so important in sales. Now, Twitter, it always seems so busy. What's the strategic advantage of using it for social selling?
Twitter is all about like real-time engagement. It's about staying ahead of the trends. It's a great place to, keep track of what's happening in your industry, share your thoughts, and just jump into conversations as they're happening.
Yeah.
And it's also really useful for getting a sense of like what people are feeling, what they're saying about your brand and your competitors. So it's about being quick, responsive, and being part of the conversation as it's happening. That's it. It's about being present and engaged in that whole digital world. But the real key is knowing how to use each platform well and making it part of your overall sales strategy.
And speaking of integrating everything, one thing that really caught my eye was all the talk about using SMS text messaging for social selling. Kind of surprising, right, when you think about all those other platforms. So what's the appeal of using SMS in this whole social selling thing?
It's a smart way to connect that social media world with, that personal one-to-one touch. With SMS, you can send like targeted messages, you can share exclusive content, or even just follow up after you've interacted with someone on social media to keep the conversation going.
Oh, I see.
It's like adding that extra personal touch and that immediacy. It can make a big difference.
So it's like you're taking that social media connection and making it even more direct and personal. I like that. But with social selling, there are so many moving parts. It can feel overwhelming, it seems like. For it to really work, marketing and sales need to be really in sync. So how can companies make sure everybody's on the same page?
That is so important. Marketing and sales, they need to be working together when it comes to social selling. They need clear communication, shared goals, and everyone has to be saying the same thing about the brand. Regular meetings, shared dashboards, and just a willingness to collaborate. Those are all key to making it work smoothly.
It's about breaking down those walls between departments and creating a truly integrated approach. All right, let's switch gears a bit and look at what Dr. Conde recommends for, fixing those gaps and making inside sales performance better.
His recommendations really line up with what we've been talking about.
Okay.
He's all for better training programs, smart investments in technology, using social selling, and making sure agents have access to good research resources.
I'm curious to break those down and see how they could actually be put into practice.
Yeah.
Let's start with training. What would a better training program look like in the real world?
It's all about, giving agents the skills and the knowledge they need
Yeah.
to not just like survive, but to really do well in this world of inside sales, which is always changing.
Right, right.
So imagine like these really comprehensive onboarding programs, right?
Mhm.
Where you really dive deep into how the sales process works, and then like regular training sessions that are focused on those, super important consultative selling techniques, and then workshops where they can really master the art of handling objections and putting together really compelling presentations.
It's not just about knowing the product, it's about becoming a real sales pro, like giving them all the tools and techniques to handle any situation, right?
Absolutely. And then when it comes to investing in technology, you really want to focus on those tools that make workflows smoother and empower agents to be more effective.
So I guess like lead scoring software would be a must-have, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It helps agents focus on like the best leads. What other types of tech investments would you recommend?
So investing in a really good call monitoring system, that can give you like amazing real-time feedback and insights. You know, helps agents refine their pitch and figure out what they can improve.
Mm-hmm.
And then those advanced telephony features we were talking about before, like automatic call distribution and voicemail to email, those can really make a big difference when it comes to, being efficient.
Yeah, it's about giving agents the tech they need to work smarter, not harder, right?
For sure.
We talked about how powerful social selling can be, but what about research resources? Why are those so important for inside sales agents to be successful?
Because knowledge is power, especially in
Yeah.
sales, which moves so fast.
Right.
You got to make sure your agents have the most up-to-date information about their industry, their competitors, and, most importantly, their target audience.
Yeah. So it's about giving them what they need to have those really smart conversations, to see challenges coming and position themselves as like trusted advisors. What kind of resources would be most helpful for that?
Well, giving them access to those market research databases
Hmm?
and industry publications, or even, creating like an internal knowledge base where agents can share their best practices and insights. That can be really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
It's about building a culture where everyone is always learning and making sure agents have the info they need right when they need it.
Dr. Condi said something really interesting in his analysis. He said that investing in your inside sales agents, it's actually an investment in your long-term success. What did he mean by that?
Well, he's saying that when you invest in your sales team, their training, their tools, their knowledge, you're not just boosting those short-term numbers. You're building a team that can adapt, that's knowledgeable, and ready for whatever changes come up in the world of sales.
Yeah, like you're building a foundation for sustainable growth and creating a culture where agents feel valued and empowered and, motivated to do their best.
Exactly. And you know what that leads to? Greater job satisfaction, people stay with the company longer, and ultimately a more successful and profitable company.
So as we're wrapping up this deep dive into inside sales agent performance, what's the main takeaway you want our listener to remember?
The world of inside sales is always changing. It's always evolving. To stay ahead, companies need to embrace those changes. And they need to give their agents the training, the technology, and the resources they need to not just keep up, but to excel.
Yeah, it's about realizing that investing in your inside sales team, it's not just a cost, it's a smart move that will benefit you in the long run. And for our listener, who we know is really involved in the world of inside sales, we leave you with this. With social selling becoming so important, which platform do you think has the most potential for your business? And how would you integrate that into your current strategy to really make the biggest impact? That's a great question to think about. It's all about finding that perfect combination of tools and strategies that works for your specific goals.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of inside sales agent performance. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep crushing those sales goals.